and then Chris will come back for question and answers or discussions. All right, so Chris, without any further ado, Christoph Swider. Chris Swider.
Tak? Dobrze? Okej. Dziękuję za tę okazję. Mogę mówić albo po polsku, albo po angielsku, jak...
Polish or English? Okay, they want him to speak Polish. So whatever comes out, whatever is easier, whether Polish or English.
States. I was born in England, in Manchester. My family moved to the United States when I was 6 months old, so I'm an American. And I never succeeded in learning another language. I've tried French, Italian, Russian, I've tried them all. And I didn't succeed. I've always been bilingual. And I don't know how that happened. Zawsze byłem dwujęzyczny i się nigdy nie udało nauczyć innych języków, choć próbowałem. Ale bez skutku. Jak znajomym Amerykanom.
When I was telling my American friends my family stories, a story of my mom, of my father, and I am a filmmaker. I've been a filmmaker since 17. I studied filmmaking in the U.S. and in Poland. I have a diploma from the Łódź Film School, and I was telling my family story. People listen, surprised. It's all dramatic. And they said, you should write about it. Or you should make a film about it. Not the crazy things I used to film. And after a while, I believed this opinion and decided to start. I didn't know what I wanted to relate. I started collecting documents, interviews. I did many interviews in the US, in Canada, and then in Poland, and in Russia as well. I didn't know which direction it would go in, but the main area was to follow in the footsteps of my father, of his exile. He was arrested by NKVD in 1939. He was an army soldier. He was a doctor, psychiatrist, and a professional soldier. In Warsaw, his family comes from nearby of Krakow. So he was in medical service in the army. He was an ambitious, diligent boy. So he was double promoted, and then he got into the middle school in Krakow. Some people wanted to take care of this very talented boy. So he graduated the officers' school, and then he did his doctorate in medical academy in Warsaw. And then the war started, and as we know, it all went in the wrong direction. Him and my sister, who was a baby, and my aunt Aniela, and mother, they were evacuated from Warsaw to Lvov. According to the orders, he was trying to change army, to get into the French army, but he was arrested by NKVD. He was incarcerated in Stryj. Different prisons, camps. And then in the last, he took quite a tour, and he was in Buchta, and I went there. I found his files. So the files were kept in the last prison where he was, and I contacted the memorial. It was a comedy, really. How to get that? That was before digital documentation. And I was standing. Oh, we were connecting over the phone to Buchta by phone in the post office, and I was in Łódź. From Łódź to Moscow, and Moscow to... So this connection was connecting us through wires, and then we called Mr. Potolicyn, who was active in this memorial, and he was not a Russian guy, but he was some other nation, and he said that he would help us, and I gave him the most important facts by phone, and then he met us at the train station in Buchta, us, because I was traveling with my assistant, my friend assistant. He had an application to the archive, and he says, we need to do it today because the kierowniczka, the manager, left she's not really open to do such things. And a young assistant is open, and that's and we went. So and this building, I have pictures. It looks like a kind of like a shopping. A shop, and there was an archive. And a young lady received our application. She led us to the office, and we were waiting, and she comes back with a file in 3 minutes. I missed that part. She gives us this file, and she says, do not take any pictures. And then she leaves, and she closes the door. And then old Potolicyn says, take out your cameras. I took pictures of all of those pages. It was a touching moment. The picture of NKVD, of my father, he was younger than I am right now. And we are reading. What did I find out? Different things. all the sequence of those prisons, lagers, and my father spoke German. I never knew this. He was bilingual, actually multilingual, many languages. He had a classical education, so German, Russian, Polish, Latin, Italian. And my assistant, Franek, he was reading in Russian. He read that my father was in one lagers by Katyń, and he was sent out just 3 days before the action took place in Katyń. Why? Russians have a long-term policy, and they thought he was. I'm speculating why. And I found out what his sentence was. He was opasny element, which is like dangerous element, and he got 3 years sentence, which was unique. Or joke from lagers. How many years did you get? What for? For nothing. Oh, for nothing you get 5. And he got 3. I think it was due to his origin. He was of a farmer's origin. They probably wanted to finish him off. He actually had doctor's hands. And he says, I'm sorry. Wait a moment. I was in the house where he was born near Krakow. Poor conditions. I copied all of the documents and I made a few interviews there. I saw the whole situation in Russia at this time. It was in the 90s. Under Gorbachev, yeah. The Russians that were helping me, I'm asking, have you been in the army? Yeah. What did you do? Choppers. What, a pilot? No. A navigator. I met so many navigators. It was strange. Our man has to be a navigator. Pilot? No. The map is held by the navigator. I met a lot of them. And I made a lot of those documents. I didn't know what to do with them. I didn't have enough to show the story of my father. When amnesty happened, he was in Komin, and then he got into Anders' army in Kubasheva or whatever it was. I don't remember. I should. He was in Uzbekistan. Then through Krasnovodsk, Pahlavi, into Persia, now Iraq, and the whole route. Kirkuk, Palestine, and then to the front in Italy. He was in Monte Cassino. He was taking part in the council, and he told Anders, you shouldn't do it. He thought that the Polish case was lost by allies and understood, Mr. Doctor, when you're a general, then you do what you want. I will be doing what I want to do. Whether it was wise or not, I don't know. It's a matter of a point of view. Just like a taxi driver told me that Poland is a land of ghosts and everybody is fighting with ghosts and everybody fights with them. So I started working, and these recordings were in 3 languages, Polish, Russian, and English. And thank God I met my previous student. He's from Bulgaria, and he's talented with languages, and he started working on mounting this whole film. We didn't have money. We didn't have any budget to do that. I was paying for it by myself. I bought many lunches for people. I poured a lot of vodka. And somehow, slowly, it progressed. And then I saw how I could do it. I could do it about the children that were in exile, and then I could make other interviews with a professor of physics in Notre Dame, Wesley Adamczyk. We mentioned him, and I read his book, and I liked it. I do recommend it. What's the book? A kiedy Bóg patrzył w drugą... Yeah. When God looked away. He was a chemistry major, really intelligent. When he retired, he started writing this book. Just like his son had told me, believe me, he didn't know how to write when he started. Write a book. And he started writing many versions. Many seeds, and he didn't like them. He's a smart man. Persistent. Soaking up everything like a sponge. For me, he was a hero. He was surrounded by ladies. He was really charming. Full of energy. And my Bulgarian friend, Ilko Davidov, collected all the material, put them together. Photographs, archive films. I lost an archive movie from the Russian archive. It was a comedy again. He goes to Moscow, and there's our friend in there who doesn't know the conditions or system of the East. And Misha says, the money that you want to spend is nothing. You're not going to do anything. And then I said, then don't. That's all I have. And then he says, okay, he'll try for $1,000. He says, cash? I say, big bills or small bills? So I gave him a big envelope, $1,000 in $20 bills. He did it. Actually, one picture is worth $1,000. And then the sound. Copyrights and so on. And the whole end, the music. It took 1 year. I wasn't teaching at the university. I was only working on that. So here we have half-an-hour version, an earlier version. You can see this on Vimeo, and it's in 1 hour. You need to pay a couple bucks for this, but I'll use them to watch that on Vimeo. And I started showing the movie. And it's been shown in 30 festivals all over Europe, Asia, Africa, US. The hour long. Has it been shown in Poland? TVN cut off one part of the interviews. What kind of interviews? With Jaruzelski. Oh. They didn't want any trouble. That's how they explained it. That's how they wanted it. So I did this interview with Jaruzelski, and whether to use it or not, my decision was I can't change what he became when he was exiled. He was not anybody, he was just a child. What they did to him, we can imagine. He told me the truth because he was talking about the conditions about his father's death. And did you try in the Polish TV? They were not interested. I'd gladly show it in different TVs. Bielsat showed it. And I think Holland showed it. Oh, so they decided to watch the longer version. We're always flexible. Quite often, Americans and Europeans, they ask me, why don't I know anything about it? Why is it now that I'm finding about it? This is, there is no simple answer to that. Academic world, media in Europe and in North America and Canada. In the US, it's dominated but left-winged people, that the sins of left-wing are not acceptable. Fascist sins, yes, of course. And to tell my students wanted to make a film about Castro. I can't hear the conversation from the people, so I only hear the answers from Chris. I'm a professor emeritus in Columbia College in Chicago, Media School. I think somebody's asking if if he could make a film about Gulag. In Russia, they don't want to talk about it now. When I was there, it was like quite a changing time. I mean, a time of change then. So could somebody ask them to use mics, because I can't hear when the public is speaking in Polish. One reaction to my movie, there is a lady that is being interviewed, and I sent her a CD, and her daughter-in-law wrote a thank you note for the film. She watched the movie with her grandchildren, and now the grandchildren believe grandma. And when grandma was talking about it, it was like, oh, grandma talking. But when they showed it on TV, then finally they believe, unfortunately. I think in life it's the other way. When they show it from TV, it's suspicious what people say in life. If you listen well and you listen critically, that's gold. There is a festival in Gdynia in September, Niezłomni, Niepokorni, Wyklęci. That's like invincible, unruly, and exiled. It's a festival of independent movies. More difficult subjects, maybe not well accepted. I haven't tried to be there. I'll try. There is a foundation of Pilecki in Warsaw, and they show films connected to this topic. It's very easy to write to them.
Dalsze pytania jakieś? Wstyd się przyznawać. To trwało 17 lat.
It took me 17 years to put it together, from 1990 to 2007. If I had $20,000, it would go faster. It's a matter of money. I was working full time. I wasn't paying anybody, almost anybody. I had to pay out of my own money. When I asked for the funds from the government agencies, and they support film production, I had to put together how much I spent. And up until then, I spent $71,000. And that's my work. And Davidova, and we worked for free. Technicians and everybody worked for free. If we were to pay them honestly, it would be 250,000. And some people said you didn't ask for the Polish funds, Polonia. This money is utopia. How is it possible that the students in high school can watch this movie? Maybe you can ask this question after watching this movie. There is a way. Right now it's on Vimeo. Watch it one time or buy it.
Szkoła jak się dowiedziała, że my jedziemy tu na taki pokaz, na takie spotkanie, no to pani dyrektor do mnie mówi: panie Antoni, no może przywiezie pan coś, pokażemy szkole, uczniom, niech to będzie, niech uczniowie się dowiedzą, jak to było, bo to fajny przekaz taki, super.
Mnie się wydaje, że ten film przemawia do młodzieży.
It was about showing it in schools. Many times I did testing of mounting and the concept. And one assistant in my work watched it. He liked it really much. How hard or how tough these people were. He was impressed by it.
Nasza młodzież o Sybiraków tak dba. Proszę ciebie, że...
No, bomba.
Dobra, fajnie. To z Warszawy jesteś? No, dobra.
I chętnie potem opowiem dalej o Jaruzelskim, jaki to był moment.
Talk about Jaruzelski later on.
Tak jest.
Troszkę zamieszanie wody, ale jeśli warto, to...
Panie Stefanie, tak jest.
Za rok, za chwilę razem nie będzie nas.
Nie, tu pan tak fajnie tam tu przedstawił.
Pan by nam zagrał piosenkę. Nie ma tam.
Nie ma, wieczorem możemy przynieść.
Choć burza huczy wkoło nas, tak? To jest ta piosenka. Mój ojciec to śpiewał w wagonie, jak go zesyłali.
Z Rzepina dzwonią do nas, jak tam, jak ta konferencja. Ja mówię, super. Najpierw pani Barbara, pięknie tutaj, wspaniale. Teraz pan nam tak przedstawił losy swojego taty.
No i dalej matka powstanie warszawskie przeżyła.
O,
Matka jako lekarz pediatra
niech pan
pracowała,
nie wspominał mamie.
pracowała w zakładzie Bodłena, przytułek w Warszawie. Tam przyjmowali niemowlęcia żydowskie i tych chłopców ubierali na różowo, żeby wyglądali jako dziewczynki, żeby nie
My mother was working as a nurse during Warsaw Uprising, and they would accept or receive Jewish boys, and babies. They were dressing them up in pink clothes, so they wouldn't check their circumcision. And she went to General von den Bach. They wanted the whole staff of the hospital to leave, and they would take care of the babies. They killed them all. And she changed, combed, and she went to the general. What did she say? I don't know. The whole staff saved the children in the hospital.
te szarytki, nie? Co, tak jak z tego obrazu Van Gogha. Nie? No. No i potem ona była w Lwowie i ona się wróciła do Warszawy, żeby z rodziną być, bo obawiała się.
And she came back to Warsaw to be with the family, and she was scared of deportation. She wanted to be with her family. She was coming from a good family. What would she be doing in some kolkhoz? She'd be dying.
How did we manage before the technology? I don't know. Okay.
Okay. Patryk, tobie.
A tak to nawet człowiek nic nikomu nie opowiadał, bo to bał się nawet. Nie było komu nawet co mówić. Teraz to już tak mniej więcej, ale teraz też nie bardzo słuchają. Uważają to, tylko co w Niemczech byli, to uważali. Te byli ucierpieli, ale co w Rosji ucierpieli, to już nieważne takie.
On September the 1st, 1939, the Nazi army smashed into Poland.
At the beginning of the war, sure, we say the first shot was fired September 1 by the Nazis. But the fact is that 2 weeks later, the Soviets attacked Poland.
Now, of course, in the eyes of the Soviets and in the official history, this was a war of liberation. But I remember 22nd of September of 1939, when the Russians moved into Lvov. They moved in shooting. There was a boy ran out from across the street and was actually shot dead, as it turned out.
A week before the war began, they signed what is called Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact of Non-Aggression. During those negotiations, they also negotiated in secret the division of Poland into two. The Germans were going to have the western part, the Soviets the eastern part.
It is quite possible that even the Second World War would not have started when it did, because it was the pact of non-aggression between Stalin and Hitler that allowed Hitler carte blanche without fear of any intervention from the Soviets. Not only that, the Soviets have attacked the one country that was then fighting Hitler.
And of course, we all know what happened on the German side, how they went with their extermination. But what most people today do not know, that the Soviets wanted to do exactly the same thing by first murdering people, as they murdered thousands of Polish officers, and deporting their families and others to the depths of Siberia, to slave labor camps, where eventually they would die by attrition without even firing a shot.
Pamiętam dzień 14 czerwca 1941 roku. Wczesne godziny ranne. Drzwi i wreszcie wchodzą żołnierze radzieccy w swoich charakterystycznych mundurach, nakrycia głowy tych budionówkach szpiczastych z karabinami i jakiś cywil. Odczytują postanowienie o deportacji. Nie znałem wtedy rosyjskiego, więc tylko 5., 60. mogłem się zorientować, że chodzi właśnie o to, że jestem uznany za element niepożądany i że podlegam zesłaniu.
These arrests were made in the middle of the night, so like maybe 2 or 3 a.m. And there is the proverbial banging on the door, and then 6 or 7 of the NKVD at that time, which is the later transformed into KGB, but the NKVD soldiers with an officer and bayonets and so on. Obviously, we opened the door, they came in, and they stated that they had indications, or that somebody had stated that my father has some sort of weaponry hidden in the house. So all they did is to check up whether that indeed is true. So they took the men and they stood them facing the wall. So of course, that was already somewhat scary. And they started the search. But in the end, of course, they found nothing, because there was nothing to be found. But then the usual phraseology is, well, we were told that you have weapons, so why don't you come with us and it may be a few days, or pack some things, and so that you can face this person who has accused you.
In our particular case, after they ransacked the house and burned all my books outside, they had an army truck. And unlike in most deportations, they took us to a prison as a holding place simply because they didn't have the train available. In most cases, they had the trains standing at the stations, and they took people directly from their houses and loaded them up on cattle trains. What was my guilt? The answer was being Polish, being a son of a Polish officer.
3 days later, the Russians came again, and sort of a replay. Again, in the middle of the night, banging on the door, I would say probably 5 or 6 people in uniform. They just said, well, you have 2 hours to pack. And again, there was this sort of these words that I think were probably, I mean, made their job easier. And ostensibly, this was to join my father, which of course we did not do because he was in prison.
Podczas aresztowania
Arrest.
nałożyli taki długi płaszcz, twardy, gruby, coś jak mnisi mają habity z kapturem, nałożyli mi na oczy, wsadzili do samochodu, żeby pokazać, gdzie mieszka mój kolega. A to był dla mnie moment, myślę, to ja sobie wtedy uciekłem. Nie wiedziałem, że będę tak skrępowany w tym samochodzie. No i pokazałem dom nie ten, co trzeba, prawda? Wyszło 2 do tego, żeby go aresztować. Został przy mnie jeden major, jego nazwisko Podszybiakin, i został kierowca z przodu. Ja w tym momencie już rozpiąłem sobie ten płaszcz, prawda? No całą pierś prawie aż do krocza. Guziki były bardzo tego i momentalnie zrzuciłem ten kaptur, ten płaszcz, także tylko do połowy on mi sięgał, uderzyłem tego majora w oko i kierowcę uderzyłem nogami w kark, także uderzył głową w kierownicę. Ta chwila oszłomienia, już wyskoczyłem na zewnątrz, ale ten płaszcz jeszcze mi nogi pętał i major ocknął się w tym czasie, chwycił za płaszcz. Naprzeciwko z domu oficerów wychodzili po jakimś zebraniu oficerowie radzieccy. No nie wiedzieli, co się dzieje, chcieli mnie właśnie wyratować z tego. Dopiero jak zobaczyli legitymację, im pokazali, że to jest KGB, no to wszyscy odstąpili, prawda, i zaczęła się szarpanina z majorem. On wyjął pistolet, prawda, chciał mnie zastrzelić, dusili mnie w siedzenia. W tym czasie nadbiegli tamci, bo zobaczyli, że to zły adres, nie jest nie ten. No i zostałem straszliwie pobity wtedy i bity zresztą byłem przez 2 tygodnie. No to robili ze mnie jadkę. No, pierwsze 3 dni to w ogóle to byłem związany, pobity do tego stopnia, że no całe byłem we krwi. Cała moja bluza, wszystko było przesiąknięte krwią, spodnie, prawda, czułem słodki zapach ten w ustach, ale mówiąc szczerze, już wtedy tych ciosów ja nie odczuwałem tak bardzo, byłem już jakby znieczulony tym wszystkim, byłem obrzęknięty. I dopiero na 3. dzień wsadzili mnie do celi.
Był to moment niewątpliwie bardzo dramatyczny, ale nie był on pełnym zaskoczeniem, ponieważ deportacje były procesem, które się toczyły, które były obok i należało się z nimi liczyć w każdym dniu.
I nad ranem, nad świtem przyjechała ciężarówka, załadowano nas do wagonów i 3 dni staliśmy w Słonimie, aż załadowano transport cały.
Once the train was loaded, and usually they had about 100 or 110 cars, the steel doors, just like on any other Caddo car, they slide. And when they closed the door with a bang, I will never forget the moment. It was almost like a steel dagger would go through my heart. And this is the first time in my life that I truly had fear in my heart as to what's going to happen.
Na stacji zorientowaliśmy się, że ładują nas do towarowych wagonów, no więc już wtedy wiedziałam, że będziemy wywiezieni do Związku Radzieckiego. W naszym wagonie było nas 48 osób. Wagon był bydlęcy, nieogrzewany. O warunkach sanitarnych to już lepiej nie wspominać. Po prostu były nary z jednej i z drugiej strony, 3-piętrowe, bez pościeli, a ponieważ my byliśmy najmłodsi, więc nas dano pod sam sufit. W tym wszystkim, całej tragedii naszej o dostaniu się, że tak do tak zwanego oczka, to znaczy do 2-0 nie było mowy. Ponieważ jak było nas ponad 40 osób, to stale było to miejsce zajęte, a więc my z bratem usprawniliśmy sobie to po prostu i okno, które było zakratowane u góry w wagonie i z taką klapą, na raz, 2, 3 go otwieraliśmy i po prostu robiliśmy te rzeczy przez to okienko. Nieraz tam nawet krzyczał ten żołnierz radziecki na nas, co robimy, no ale nie było innego wyjścia.
As you look under the cars, between the rails, there was a continuous long pile of human feces. And the reason was because thousands and thousands of others, we were deported in June, and they had 2 huge deportations beginning February 10th and then in April again. And as those people went, having used to the small hall, the fishes and whatever fell in the middle of the track. So you can imagine, with thousands of people going by, it formed a pile. So this gave us a clue of how many thousands of people they have deported prior to us. As we approached the Polish border heading to Soviet Union, the crowd in our car began to sing the Polish national anthem. And soon after, you could hear from other cars that the other people picked up on the anthem and they began to sing it. Within minutes, the Soviet soldiers began to shout that we have to stop singing. And if we're not, they said that we're going to shoot you like dogs.
Zawiezie do Baranowicz. Baranowicza była przeładunek na szeroki tor i jechaliśmy na wschód. Okropne to było wrażenie, gdy pociąg ruszał z miejsca. Śpiew, płacz, no to jest chyba niezapomniane wrażenie do końca życia. Ten moment ruszania pociągu w kierunku wschodu.
Must have been terrifying for my mother. I know that she toyed with, since my uncle lived in the city of Tarnopol, handing me over through the window to a railway man to take me to my uncle, but of course the railwayman, and fortunately walked away. And I don't know that she would have done it. She just thought that she was thinking of it. It would have been terrible had she done it, because by then my uncle and my aunt were already in prison, and their kids were actually on another train.
Podróż z Lwowa do Władywostok trwała w okrutnych warunkach 1 miesiąc. W wagonach, ja byłem w wagonie polmanowskim, było 107 więźniów stłuczonych, w tym było 3 tylko Polaków, a reszta to byli Ukraińcy banderowcy, względnie Niemcy i Rosjanie, różnego rodzaju przestępcy kryminalni. Ci byli najgorsi, ponieważ od samego początku terroryzowali więźniów politycznych za cichym przyzwoleniem władz NKWD. Na czym to polegało? Polegało to na tym, że jeżeli takich kilku opryszków któregoś więźnia rozbierali albo maltretowali, ochrona, ta NKWD, odwracała się plecami i udawała, że nie widzi. Natomiast jeżeli więźniowie próbowali się bronić i tych opryszków, prawda, w jakiś sposób, to w ten czas strzelali i w ten czas stawali w obronie. Więc najprawdopodobniej, to znaczy na pewno oni, biorąc jakieś rzeczy czy przedmioty, dzielili się z tymi żołnierzami NKWD, ci handlowali, sprzedawali i w ten sposób mieli jakieś tam dodatkowe korzyści. Tak? Natomiast biedni więźniowie byli ograbieni i po największej części zmaltretowani, pobici.
Były to warunki bardzo ciężkie, wagon towarowy, bydlęcy, z jakimiś prowizorycznie zbitymi pryczami, w ogromnej ciasnocie, otwór w podłodze dla celów wiadomych, bardzo niewielu mężczyzn, przede wszystkim kobiety i dzieci. Ja miałem wtedy 16 lat i jechaliśmy długo w tych bardzo trudnych warunkach, pod eskortą wojskową. Od czasu do czasu pociąg się zatrzymywał po to, żeby można było pobrać ciepłą wodę, tak zwany kipiatok. Otrzymywaliśmy jakąś kiepską zupę, bardzo zresztą mało i rzadko. I trwała ta podróż chyba ze 3 albo i 4 tygodnie.
Ponieważ głód jest, pragnienie jest trudniejsze do zniesienia od głodu, więc więzień, który był spragniony, nie myślał o ucieczce, tylko cała jego uwaga była skoncentrowana, jakby się napić wody. Ja, jadąc w tym pociągu, wypiłem wszystkie rzeki, które przejeżdżałem. Dniestr, Wołgi, Jenisej, Ob, Leny, wszystkie rzeki po kolei piłem oczami wody, tak, bo byłem spragniony.
Z rodakiem się spotkałem i on od razu tak brutalnie to szybko zdechnie, bo ja jeszcze po tym całym maltretowaniu podczas śledztwa jeszcze nie doszedłem do siebie. Jeszcze byłem żółty cały, jeszcze byłem wychudzony, jeszcze byłem taki, zresztą i nieśmiały tutaj po wszystkim. No, miałem wtedy 18 lat. 18 lat zresztą skończyłem w etapie, odjeżdżając jeszcze do obozu.